Two guys, a small engine workshop, a lake in Germany, and a decision to take a Mercedes engine, rebuild it entirely by hand, and make it faster than anything the factory had ever imagined. That is where AMG started. Not in a boardroom, not with a corporate strategy. In a converted mill building in Affalterbach in 1967, with two engineers who genuinely believed they could build something nobody else was willing to build. Over 50 years later, that same town is still where every AMG engine is made, and every single one is still signed by the hand that built it. That detail matters, because AMG is not a badge, it is not a trim level, it is not Mercedes pressing a sport button and calling it a performance car. AMG is a separate company, majority owned by Mercedes-Benz, that takes Mercedes models, strips them down, rebuilds them around performance-focused engineering, and produces some of the most extreme road cars that money can currently buy. The name comes from the initials of the two founders, Hans Werner Aufrecht and Erhard Melcher, the A and the M and Grossesbach, the hometown of Aufrecht. All AMG today, the AMG lineup, runs from the A45 S at the entry point all the way up to the GT Black Series, one of the most track-focused road cars ever to carry a Mercedes badge. Between those two extremes sits an enormous range of models covering nearly every segment Mercedes sells. But they are not all the same, and the differences between them tell you everything about what AMG actually is. Start at the bottom of the range, which is not actually a small thing. The A45 S is built on a front-wheel drive platform derived from the A-Class hatchback. That alone would make most performance car enthusiasts suspicious. And then you see the numbers. The A45 S uses a 2.0-liter four-cylinder turbocharged engine, producing 421 horsepower. That is 421 horsepower from a 2-liter four-cylinder engine, which makes it the most powerful series production four-cylinder engine in the world. The torque figure is 369 pound-feet. The car reaches 62 miles per hour from a standstill in 3.9 seconds. It does this through a four-wheel drive system called 4MATIC Plus that can send up to 50% of torque to the rear wheels, which transforms what is essentially a hot hatchback platform into something genuinely startling to drive quickly. The A45 S is the proof that displacement is not the point. Engineering is the point. Moving up, the C63 is where AMG gets historically interesting. For decades, the C63 was defined by one thing: a naturally aspirated 6.2-liter V8 engine, the M156. Loud, characterful, relatively simple in concept, and absolutely beloved by the people who owned one. When Mercedes retired it and moved to smaller turbocharged engines, the community was vocal in its disappointment. The current C63 SE performance represents something genuinely unusual. It uses a 2.0-liter four-cylinder turbocharged engine paired with an electric motor on the rear axle, producing a combined system output of 671 horsepower. 671 horsepower from a four-cylinder hybrid in a mid-size sedan. The controversy about whether this is a real C63 is ongoing. The performance numbers suggest the argument is mostly emotional. The car is extraordinarily fast. Whether it feels like a C63 is a different question, and it is one that AMG engineers are clearly aware of. The E63 S is where AMG and luxury stop fighting each other and arrive at a genuine agreement. The E63 S uses a 4.0-liter twin-turbocharged V8 engine producing 612 horsepower. It comes as a sedan or an estate, and the estate version, the E63 S wagon, has become one of the most discussed AMG models in enthusiast circles for a simple reason. It is a full-size estate car with a genuine boot large enough for a family holiday that can reach 62 miles per hour in 3.4 seconds. It is the car that answers the question of what you buy when you have a family and refuse to accept that performance is no longer something you can justify. The E63 S wagon is not a compromise. It is the argument that you should not have to compromise. The S63 takes that logic and scales it. Built on the S-Class platform, the S63 is a flagship performance saloon that uses the same 4.0-liter V8 in a mild hybrid configuration, producing 802 horsepower. It weighs over 2 tons. It reaches 62 miles per hour in 3.3 seconds. It has a rear axle steering system, active suspension, and enough technology inside the cabin to make the performance figures feel almost calm in context. The S63 is what happens when the most expensive saloon Mercedes makes decides it also wants to be the fastest. The GT range is where AMG stops sharing platforms with the rest of Mercedes and builds its own world. The AMG GT is a proper sports car. 2 seats, engine in the front, power to the rear, and a proportional purity that the saloon-based AMG models cannot quite replicate. The GT63, which stretches the concept into a 4-door Gran Turismo format, uses the 4.0-liter V8 producing 630 horsepower in standard form, and is one of the fastest 4-door cars ever tested on the Nürburgring. And then there is the GT Black Series. This is not a car that arrives at compromise. The GT Black Series uses a flat-plane crank 4.0-liter V8 producing 730 horsepower, a configuration borrowed directly from AMG's GT3 racing program. It has a fixed rear wing that generates significant downforce. It has a dual-clutch gearbox calibrated specifically for track use. It weighs 1,625 kilograms, which is remarkable for a car of its size and power. In 2020, it set a new production car lap record at the Nürburgring Nordschleife, breaking the record previously held by the Lamborghini Huracan Performante with a time of 6 minutes 43 seconds. The Black Series does not exist to be practical. It does not exist to be comfortable on a motorway. It exists to demonstrate what AMG is actually capable of when every constraint except performance is removed from the brief. There are also AMG Line and AMG Sport models throughout the Mercedes range that carry AMG styling, but are not built by AMG. This distinction matters. The genuine AMG models, the ones built in Affalterbach, the ones with the signed engines, the ones that go through AMG's own development program, are a specific and smaller group. When you see a car described as a true AMG, it means the performance engineering is genuine all the way through, not a body kit over a standard drivetrain. What all the genuine AMG models share is a development DNA that started in that converted mill building, with 2 engineers who wanted to build something the factory would not. The signed engine is not just a marketing gesture, it is a continuation of that original commitment. One person built this engine. They are responsible for it. Their name is on it. In a world increasingly moving toward electric motors and software-defined performance, AMG has been clearer than most about what it intends to preserve. The sound, the character, the sense that a car has a personality rather than a performance mode. Whether they can sustain that as electrification becomes unavoidable is the question the next decade will answer. But right now, from the A45 S all the way to the GT Black Series, every genuine AMG is still built around the same idea those 2 engineers had in Affalterbach in 1967. Take the engine. Make it faster, sign your name to it.